The story surgeon returns. You know I write with a scalpel because my penmanship is surgical. One of my first videos on this channel was trying to make a live action version of Naruto. With all of the knowledge and experience I've acquired since then, I no longer like that video because I believe anime doesn't work in live action. There are too many things that anime and manga are able to achieve thanks to their medium that live action is just not able to. The first thing that prevents anime from working in live action is the character designs. As a medium that is drawn, anime characters can be nearly anything the artist wants them to be. Live action can't compete with that. Let's start with the small stuff. Rainbow colored eyes and hair can be done, but it'd look weird in real life. Then the wacky hairstyles would be even harder to pull off. The characters would look like people at a cosplay event rather than actual characters from a Hollywood movie. And then there's the nonsensical outfits that are sometimes physically impossible to do. Finally, there's the abstraction of anatomy, whether it be large eyes or caricature-like faces. Live action character designs are limited to the actors they can get and how easy it is to move in the outfit. Look at the live Cowboy Bebop. They had to drastically change Faye's design because her outfit would be uncomfortable, if not impossible, to move around in. The closest thing to anime and manga being adapted is comic book movies, and even in those, the characters' outfits are changed to look more realistic and plausible. Comic characters often wear brightly colored spandex suits, but both Marvel and DC often alter them to make them look more militaristic. Look at Batman in the 2022 movie, or the Dark Knight trilogy. It's basically armor. Then look at all the Marvel superheroes and villains and compare them to their comic book versions. The creativity in designs has to be sacrificed. Imagine if Iron Man, Falcon, Green Goblin, or Vulture had their comic designs in the movies. They'd look goofy. Now how about an anime perspective? Imagine trying to adapt the Gurren Lagann crew into live action, or JoJo, or DBZ, or Yu-Gi-Oh! How are you gonna have Kaiba's coat suspended in midair? It just wouldn't work. That's something I took into account when making my Naruto Hollywood, which I respect. But I think that if I had to make that many changes, the movie just shouldn't be made. Supporting argument 2 is the fantastical settings. If the anime takes place on regular Earth, that's not much of a problem. But if you have a super sci-fi or fantasy setting, that won't fly. Again, I'm gonna go to superhero movies because they're the closest comparison. Most of those movies take place on Earth, except some people have powers or advanced tech. TV Tropes has a term called weird Japanese thing to describe anime settings, and that's because anime settings are often injected with crack. Try summarizing Superman's setting, then try summarizing Bleach's. There are often so many layers to an anime setting, but making visuals for that is a completely different game. Where are you going to shoot One Piece or Fairy Tail? Lord of the Rings could be shot in New Zealand because it's just forest most of the time, but the amount of locations and terrains that fantasy anime have is unimaginable IRL. Even a show like Magi, where most locations are based on real places, you'd have to shoot in multiple countries to get the right setting, and that's not something that is done often. As for sci-fi, where can you film Space Dandy? You could resort to CGI backgrounds, but at that point, why make the movie live action? Comic book movies have it easy because a lot of the time, the actual comics are set in real locations, or at least heavily based on them, so all the crew needs to do is film in that location. And then there's power systems. I think this could theoretically be handled, but how much exposition would need to be delivered to explain the powers in one movie? Anime has the advantage of being a TV series with several episodes. Comic book movies have the advantage of simple abilities. It can be done, but I don't know how effective it'll be. Individual type power systems are easy, but expansive type power systems like Nen or Chakra would need some kind of info dump, or they could be left vague and assume the viewers are familiar with the source. Anime is an extremely expressive medium when it comes to characters. Most of that is not translating well to live action. If you haven't seen my video on making a hype scene, go watch that after this, but I talked about multiple writing tactics that were used to make anime scenes epic and hype. Intense reactions is the first thing to go. You know how when a character does something epic, there are several quick cuts to characters reacting dramatically? The only way that's working IRL is if it's a YouTube skit that's being self-aware. That ain't gonna fly in live action if it isn't supposed to be funny. Next technique that's disappearing is screaming. No way a movie is having its actors scream out special moves or just scream in general when doing something intense. It doesn't work in live action because that's not a way a real person would react. Anime can get away with this because it is a more abstract form of reality, partially because it is drawn. It can stay realistic or push the boundaries of emotions. Eren can scream he'd kill all titans without breaking my engagement. Naruto can give his speech to his enemies during battle. Light can freak out or laugh maniacally. Goku can scream while powering up. It works in anime, but not in live action. Narration might be able to work, but for some reason, movies rarely have internal monologues, and a lot of the narration I spoke of was mental. As for expressions outside of my hype videos, IRL facial expressions can't be matched by those in drawings. Anger, sadness, happiness, or even funny faces. None of them will translate well to live action. Live action thrives in subtle facial expressions and display of emotions. This leads me into comedy. Anime comedy will flop in live action if adapted one-to-one. When I think of the funniest jokes from anime like Konosuba, Grand Blue, or Asobi Asobase, they are balls off the walls humor. The characters are often screaming and doing wacky stuff with funny facial expressions and sublime voice acting. When I think of the funniest jokes in live action shows like The Office or Community, they are witty jokes that rely on dialogue, context, and subtle shifts in facial expressions. A character going through 3 different faces as a reaction in 2 seconds can have me rolling, but often when I see zany gags in live action, I don't find them funny. Hell, let's compare stand-up comedy. I made a video about this, but there's this dope manga called Shouha Shoten, and it's about stand-up. The jokes are still vastly different in the execution than real stand-up. Shouha takes advantage of its medium and manipulates its art style and anatomy to accentuate gags. Real comedians can't and therefore don't do that. They rely on wit and context. Shouha has characters screaming as part of the comedy. Comedians can only do that to a certain extent. If a live anime were to try and adapt anime style of comedy, it'd probably be cringier than Live Bebop's attempt at comedy. Finally, visuals. Look up any Sakuga compilation, whether it be from Hop Sakuga or Hip Hop Sakuga, then try to imagine that spectacle in real life. Live action can't achieve the unique shifts in animation. It can't achieve complex choreography that defies human physics. It can't get those difficult and sometimes impossible camera angles. There's no competition. As for just simple visuals, look at Kimi no Nawa or Tenki no Ko. Do you really think a live action version could compete with beautiful shots and cinematography like that? Hell no. In conclusion, anime doesn't work in live action because anime character designs can often be too complex to work in a live setting. The fantastical setting can also be too complex to be accurately adapted with a specific budget. The expressiveness that drawn characters display is far superior to those that real humans can, and would be cringy if attempted in real life. The comedy is also something that real humans can't do, even if they're willing to make the audience cringe with an attempt. And some of the visuals that anime pull off is just not able to be done as effectively with a camera, actors, and visual effects. Overall, this just leads me to ask why. Why would you want to adapt something from animation to real life? The only answer I can think of is money, because if you're a creator and you actually respect anime, you should be able to recognize that all the sacrifices you need to make to translate the anime effectively slowly chip away at what made the anime so special to begin with and result in an inferior product. It can be done, like I did with Naruto in Hollywood, but look at how much I had to change. At the end of the day, why would you watch my live action Naruto when you could just watch the original? I can't see how an artist who's not just in it for the money and actually respects their craft would intentionally make an adaptation that is fated to either be loyal but cringy or consumable but disloyal, and either way, inferior. One Piece and Avatar live actions are coming, and while Avatar isn't an anime, the same rules apply because it's anime inspired. Both of them aren't going to be good. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.